Hi again to a new episode. I'm today with Maryann Moloko, and she's a really sweet, intuitive business and manifestation coach. I love her genuine energy online, and I know she's helping women all over the world to activate their voice and creativity and wealth consciousness. So many beautiful words, Maryann. Tell me about your money story. What beliefs did you inherit growing up, and how those beliefs showed up in your business?
So I had the belief, my parents always brought me up as if you work really hard, blood, sweat, and tears, then you're deserving of the success, the money, and that you need to like push yourself to create any sort of success. And when I first started my business, usually, okay, so let me rewind. Before I had that, my started my business 4 years ago, I was in sales. I was working in the corporate world, and I started my manifestation journey 10 years ago. So I learned the practices and the processes, but more on a surface level. So I was good at attracting money, um, but when I started my business, I had no one else to kind of depend on. Everything was on me. And so I kind of reverted back to the hustle mode and the forcing and taking lots of action to create results,
Hmm.
which led me to feeling really burnt out. I had a huge breakdown as well. And I was teaching something that wasn't really in alignment with my soul path. So I was teaching more about strategy and business, which was great. But what I found was that so many women were getting so many different results using the same process. And I knew there was like a deeper reason. It's because of who they are and what they believe about themselves. So I knew that my work and my path was helping people shift that.
Mhm. So you started first. So interesting because I had a similar story. Like, I started first with manifestation. Like in the first year of my business, I was like, pray to the universe, the source, and starting to figure out how manifestation working with, of course, my subconscious mind and hypnosis, visualization, embodiment practices. But it wasn't sustainable. Like sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't work, and it wasn't like a recipe for success there, because there wasn't any factor that was like sometimes fluctuating or that I could realize that really influenced the process. Everything, it was something else. So that's when I got into the strategy, and I started working with business mentors, so I can create systems that are more sustainable and bring a more consistent revenue. But exactly as you did, I started to be really burnout because I needed to post all the time and to have this strategy set in place and do all the sales calls and blah blah blah. So I realized that it wasn't that answer as well, and the answer is somewhere in between. And that's when I started learning about the feminine and masculine energy. And it was like, okay, I do the masculine strategy, but then during the day, let's say, and then at the end of the day, I release that, I surrender that to the universe, and I'm getting into my feminine being, and I rest and I create from that place, and things started to balance, and to really feel balanced for the first time in my business. But it was a trial and error. And it's
Yeah.
so interesting that,
I,
collectively, I feel like all women entrepreneurs are starting with one or the other first time. Maybe
exactly.
you start with the strategy and then you go into manifesting, and you think that either one of them can be the perfect answer, but they're not. Like they both are the answer. And the answer
Exactly.
basically is creating your own unique recipe for success, right? And what is yours? What is yours, Maryann? What is your
So,
recipe for success?
what I tell my clients all the time is that you are the strategy. Yes, you can do the action. Yes, there are a hundred different ways you can get clients, and yes, you can be in your feminine energy, but it's combining the both and realizing the more that you embody what you teach and what you're putting out, what you want to create, then that is when you start attracting people.
Hmm. I love that so much. Embodiment is such a huge piece here because we consciously we can say like, and we can be great sellers. You worked in sales as well. I worked in sales, but before doing actually seeing myself as a leader and seeing myself like a business owner and embodying that image of myself, I was like selling, but I knew the tools, but I didn't have the clients because it wasn't embodied. So you have so many beautiful tools in your practice. And if you would okay, so how would you advise someone that is starting to learn about this different modalities and manifestation? How can someone start to find their own strategy?
Well, I think the thing is about manifestation, I think sometimes it has a bad rep online. People think it's just like visualizing, affirmations,
Mhm.
meditating, and it's like based on the old school kind of law of attraction. And that implies a little bit of separation that I need to be someone in order to get something. Whereas I work more with the law of one. So knowing and coming back to the truth that you are abundant and then you transcend those limitations that you have and then you step into your power. So the advice I would give is don't follow any rules. Block out the noise of what everyone else is doing. I think when you start to follow what speaks to your soul and what really excites you, not because this coach is doing it and this person's doing it and you see this person's getting results, and you start following what feels good to you, that is like the step that starts moving you forward towards what you want to create.
I love that so much, and for me, it was. And I think like it's so common when you start being a coach in the online space to start and adding all the coaches and to try to see how everybody's doing their business because you don't have a model yet. So it's normal to go and try to steal other people's recipes of
Yeah.
success. But you see after not a long time that it's really you can get to a really a deep place of comparison, especially women. Like this is such a core wound to all of my clients. Like all of them are like, I needed to delete everyone from my social media because I couldn't get online and I couldn't see another 10K months and 100K months and I didn't have any clients and I felt like really bad and everything. So there is a point like after you start adding everyone, then you start to realize that nobody has your answer, that you need to find your own. And for me it was really hard at this point because what happened is that I always had somebody to look up. I had my sister, I had my mentor, and when people told me like you need to find your to look inside and see what works for you and what's your own recipe for success, I didn't know where to start because I never looked inside before.
Yeah.
So, how did you handle that, or how do you recommend someone to do it at this
Yeah.
point?
A lot of people are like, what do you mean, look within? What does that actually mean? And
Exactly.
that just means basically connecting with your inner source and your higher self. So,
Mm.
what we tend to do as humans is we look on the outside, see what everybody else is doing. And sometimes just having that quiet time and listening to what is actually going on with us internally. And a lot of the time as well, I talk about energetics in business. People don't feel good about their business. That is why, or their offer, or something in their business, and that's why they're not attracting what they want. They're not calling in what they want. So it's noticing how you feel, checking in with your nervous system and seeing, okay, does this feel good to me? Yes. Okay.
Mm.
No. Okay. How can I shift that? What story have I been telling myself of why I can't have that thing?
I love this. Like, it was exactly what I did. Like, what I did, I said to myself, like, I don't put any pressure for me for now for a few months, just to see, just to explore. And I call it exploration phase. And in that exploration phase, I just like, some days I would wake up earlier, sometimes late. Sometimes I would work one session per day, sometimes three, just to see how it, what a schedule, how a schedule looks like for me, how I feel with some clients, how I feel doing some things, how I feel being more in my feminine or more in my masculine. And just not creating any conception or perception in that time, just experimenting and writing in my journal every day what everything, how everything, like creating as a mood board, how it feels everything for me. So at the
Yes,
end of those months, I really could see like a bigger picture about my own model of success and reality. So I love that you,
that's
we had the
beautiful.
same process
Yeah,
of
exactly. I do my shifting process, and it's basically what the sections that I go through is a lot of it is about trust, expectation, worthiness.
Mhm.
These are things that come up for us as women, as people, as
Mhm.
humans. So, how much, and safety as well. How safe does it
Mhm.
feel to earn this amount of money? How safe does it feel to speak out and be seen and be heard? So
Oh my
it's just
God.
little things. When you start shifting them just a little bit, you start to notice the difference. But you can
Yeah,
only
my
do that when you block out all the noise and you start checking in with how you feel and start listening to yourself.
yes, yes, that exactly. Like my sister has a saying, like in the first years, 2, 3 years of your business, you're like doing major shifts, and then when you get into the more intermediate phase, more expert phase, the shifts that you're doing are so small but so intense. Like all these things, little things, are what will move the needle the most in your business, the energetic parts of it.
Yes,
So it's
exactly.
really interesting to not be only the strategy or to follow somebody's steps or to do what you know on the market and you learn on the market that could work. It's only about you and your own exploration. And we were
Exactly.
talking, like me and Maryann were talking before on Instagram. We had a connection, like since we saw each other. And she was telling me that she had a spiritual awakening. And this term, and like also the dark night of the soul, and all these spiritual
Mm.
terms are so subjective and so unique to all of us, all of our journeys, that I'm really curious, what did that meant for you, Maryann?
For me, it came when I was burnt out in my business and I had a little break. And I was really in a space of comparison, feeling if I'm worthy enough, all of that. And I mean, the spiritual awakening lasted quite a long time, 6 months of me literally seeing things completely different, and wanting to change. I had a different Instagram before, and I completely abandoned that. I had like 6,000 followers. I completely abandoned that and started this one again. And it was like everything that I once knew just didn't make any sense anymore. It was just a really crazy time. I became so much more intuitive and psychic as well. And
Wow.
yeah, it's crazy. I mean, my journey is still evolving. I did
Mhm.
I'll tell you about I had a past life regression session, and I created a program called Rebirth, which is basically the old dying and stepping into the new, rebirthing from the ashes, creating a new identity and owning your power. And then I had a past life regression session, and this goddess called Kali Ma, who is the goddess of rebirth, life and death, came and I was
Wow.
speaking through, and I was like, whoa, oh my God, this is crazy. I mean, if someone asked me a year ago that I would be, having these like epiphanies and downloads and psychicness, I'd be like, no way. But it's when you accept your journey and you just really embrace who you are, you start to receive more. And yeah, I love it.
Wow. Like
Yeah.
it started, first of all, it started from a dark night of the soul, right? It started from
Yeah.
a really stuck energy where you said you felt you were deep in the comparison wound. You said you had another business. Was that also coaching, or you were doing something else?
No, it was the coaching business, but I just abandoned my old Instagram because I just didn't resonate with it anymore and just started afresh. It was like I rebirthed and started completely different. And, a lot of people are like, don't leave that Instagram, just, but I was like, no, I'm starting afresh. And it felt so, so good. But yeah,
Oh.
it started off from comparison, feeling unworthy, wondering what my soul path is. What am I supposed to be doing? Am I going in the right direction? So, all of these questions were popping up for me. And the more I connected to my soul and my higher self and my intuition, that is when I started being led down this path of helping women activate their voice and their creativity and their business and their wealth consciousness as well.
Hmm. So before you were like in the strategy part, more masculine, trying everybody else's recipe for success until,
Yes.
and I love to think about this, like if you're not ready and you're not doing the steps, like you can get with that for a couple of years, but then the universe will push you towards the path and you will be forced to do the steps. So for you it started with this being so feeling so overwhelmed with all these negative emotions, and for me it was the same. Like I used to I have a BA in psychology and a master's degrees in business psychology, but 10 years ago in Romania not a lot of people were going to therapy, so I needed to take
Mm.
another job. I needed to do I started to work as an art director and a graphic designers, and I said that when I will have more money I will come back to psychology. That didn't happen for 8 years. Like I stayed there and I worked a lot. I didn't have time to start my studies again or do anything else. So the pandemic came and it forced me to quit my job because they were at the point of bankruptcy and they cut our salaries really bad. So because I didn't took the steps for so many years, at some point the universe came and said, this is not your path, don't force yourself anymore, you are burnout, you are, I was unhappy on all levels of my life and something really had to shift. And exactly as it was for you, like it was as someone opened my mind all of a sudden and I could see everything, like how my group of friends were really toxic, how my
Yes.
relationship was unhappy, how like I just didn't felt myself anymore in my life. And it was a huge shift and it's unique for everyone and we have our own journeys. But if you're in one of the stages, it's I know it's not easy, but it's when you look back, like when I look at my life 3 years ago, like even though I suffered and I cried on the floor for days
Yeah.
because I couldn't feel like myself anymore, it's totally worth it. Like you're starting to see the light with every like healing practice that you do. Like even if you're staying 5 minutes with yourself in the morning and you're asking your body, like what do you desire today, what do you have more energy and you want to do something more active, or do you have less energy and maybe you want to do something more resting? Only this tool like shifted my life and changed my old reality with the new, as you said, with your
Yes.
program. And regarding that, what are your programs or your offerings right now? How can women work with you in this moment?
So at the moment, I am doing Ascension, which is transcending limitations and tapping into your divine supply of abundance. So it is an abundance program, but it's
Mm,
about self concept and shifting into the new and letting go of the old. It's not as deep as rebirth because that is literally about deep, deep healing and being a completely different person. But this is more so this is ascension in business. So stepping into that next level in business, letting go of the rules, and getting paid to be you and you being the strategy. That is what it's all about. And the more I've stepped into that and embodied that, I mean, it's insane. Like, I love my life so much. I work every day, well, and not the weekends, but I do calls 3 days a week. I travel every month, like I'm traveling with my partner every month. And I'm really enjoying my life, and I'm attracting beautiful soul family on the internet. So yeah, and
The
then
same we
I'm
attracted each other.
yeah, exactly. And I love that. And yeah, and now I'm starting to do more in-person things. So I've got a London retreat. So if anyone's in from London or the UK, I'm doing a next level activation retreat. Um, and that is on in July. And then I'm going to do a weekend retreat as well here in Italy. So really
Wow.
exciting. Yeah.
Wow, you have so diverse and also beautiful offerings, and you are like also face to face and online. You're reaching women in all possible ways, and it's really lovely to hear that. I feel that especially after the pandemic, we need so much connection, because we've been locked down and separated by each other. And I always say to my partner, I love you, but I want to be with the girls so much. Like, I want to go
Yeah.
and have retreats and have like trips with my girlfriends and do stuff together, because, we had like our routine and it was lovely and it was nice. But now we need back our feminine power. And from this place of co creation with each other, we can go to our next level. And it's lovely how
Exactly.
your work is almost the same as mine, but you have different tools and different approach. But the end goal is
It's
somehow
the same.
is the same, being the next level in your life and in your business. And it's so beautiful. And I wish you all the
Yeah.
success, Marianne. And I know that you
Thank you
will
so
have a lot of
much.
impact in women's lives. And thank you for listening to us today. I'm sure that you had a lot of golden nuggets about the dark night of the soul, spiritual awakening, and her niche expertise around manifestation. And I'm going to add a link for her work in the description of the podcast, and also the link for my new training, that's how to identify your money blocks. It's really cool for women entrepreneurs. If you don't know what's blocking you in your journey, then I created a 30-minute practical training so you can do a short body practice, exactly as we were talking earlier, Marianne, and doing an embodiment to see what's blocking you in your body, because that's where the answers are. And you can
Yes.
find the link for that as well in the description. So thank you for watching us, and see you at the
Thank
next
you.
episode. Thank you, Marianne.
Thank you.